We are all human, and don't try to hide that fact. And uh, you know, we are imperfect. We have our own quirks. We are weird. Sometimes we do fuck ups.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to Software Engineering Tales. Today's episode is a little bit special. Maybe you noticed that I have a new awesome jingle, and this jingle was actually composed by our today's guest, who is Vojta Hodějčuk, a senior software engineer based in Prague, Czech Republic. And let me just tell you, this is really nice, down-to-earth conversation about so many topics like juggling this demanding job and family, about job interviews, about questions like why he thinks that today's software engineering is better than it was 10 or 15 years ago, and so many other topics. So without further delay, let's get to it. As always, if you like the conversation, leave me a comment, leave me some feedback. I always appreciate it, and subscribe. So let's get to it.
Sure. Hi, everybody. My name is Vojta. I'm 37. A few days, and I'm living in Prague. I'm a software developer since I guess childhood. So my career was really straightforward and very easy. You could not write any novels about it. It's basically a simple story when a kid was playing with computer games, then found some books from my father where I could see some code, and I was just curious to see how to try it out. So I wrote the code into the computer and it did something, and I enjoyed it. So I tried to modify the code. It did something else, or it didn't work at all. So yeah, I enjoyed that process, and since then, I knew that I would be a software developer, I guess. And also, I like the fact that it's still quite well appreciated in the economy. So
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the job too much. So yeah, it's kind of everything led to this, and I still enjoy it. Yeah. So I have three kids, small ones from 3 to 10. So yeah, we'll talk about that, I guess, as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, what else? And apart from work and the kids, which is a very little remainder, I like composing electronic music. So you can go to Spotify and search for Voho, VOHO, and I also like traveling and playing guitar a bit and building Lego sets, obviously. So yeah, whatever time allows.
Yeah, that's cool. And I will add the link to your Spotify to the description
Thank
of the
you.
episode so
Yes.
anyone can
That's
find
my
it.
that's my payment for this episode. I can make an advertisement.
Okay. And so basically, because I spoke with other people, on this podcast who were career switchers like me and started with like software engineering in later age, let's say. Would you say that it was an advantage for you, or is it still to these days an advantage for you that you started very early, and I suppose you studied it as a major on university, probably?
Well, to be honest, I'm not sure. I think it was a little bit because there was not much noise, and I think it was more about ease of mind, because I did not have to worry about what I'm going to do. So it was like straightforward. On the other hand, I think I like some perspective, or some experience from other areas. So when I was young, I was doing some, summer jobs and stuff. So I tried different jobs, but it was just for a brief moment of time, and it was just enforcement for me to to keep in software because I almost killed myself several times. So yeah,
Yeah, my friend who is also a software engineer, he likes to say that basically he is doing his hobby and he's paid for it, and he works only 2 weeks in his life, and it was a summer job on construction, and never more. So, so I can, yeah, I can understand that. But I think it's I think it's advantage when you have like good foundations, because I personally, I'm a career switcher, and to these days, I'm in the industry for 4 years now, I think, and here and then there, I can identify that I have some, like foundational gaps. It's everything good, and now, oh, I don't know, and it's something that's learned in the first year of university,
Yes.
and you need to just fill these gaps.
Yeah, I
when you
think what you maybe are referring to is some technical knowledge, right? Like
Yeah.
theoretical knowledge. Because I think maybe most of the software development skills, I would say maybe 70% roughly, is not an attitude or a personality trait or stuff that you enjoy doing. I would say it's patience. It's like attention to details. It's like analytical thinking and joy of solving problems. Yeah, basically, and maybe reading. Yeah, so if you have these personal traits, I think you can become a developer if you learn the technical aspect of it. But I think sometimes people try to learn IT or switch to IT because obviously there is a lot of money and you can get jobs easily. But they lack these traits. They can learn the fundamentals. They even manage to learn the fundamentals. It's not rocket science, but they lack these kind of they lack these skills. And when they start doing the job, they actually learn that they don't enjoy it. So they can do the job, but after a few years, they are burnout or they don't enjoy it. They don't like their jobs, and they say, "Yeah, IT sucks. It's boring job." But yeah, so I think if you have these traits, as you probably have, then you can switch to IT. And you can switch to other jobs. Maybe we would be good architects, or maybe like lawyers. I don't know. Like lawyers seems quite similar to development, to be honest. So yeah, they just work with human language, but basically they are developers of human language. So yeah.
I think that if your first motivation or your most important motivation to switch into software engineering or start with software engineering is money, you will not get far, because it's nice, it's good as like secondary motivation. It's good industry for that, but it shouldn't be the main thing. And I know people who were basically doing this mostly for money, and they were not very happy, often changing the jobs, often changing projects, and they had the money, but I think they will eventually burn out after a few years. So yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know if you can disclose that or not, but what do you do right now? Because I know that
Yeah.
you exchanged a few jobs. I don't know how long is your experience in the industry, like commercial experience.
Yeah, it's. I also don't remember. um,
More than 10
I don't
years
know. I will have to check my
for sure.
LinkedIn,
Yeah.
but it's something like I don't know, 15 years approximately, plus
Yeah.
minus. And yeah, commercial just after the school. Yeah, after finishing the school. So yeah, I was working in different industries and different sizes of companies for the whole time. And currently, I'm working in a small. Well, it's not so small anymore. It's called Moments. It's a startup that does software for gyms, fitness centers, spas, I know yoga studios and stuff like that, like event experience economy. And I'm there for maybe 3 months. It's not very long.
Very
But big
fresh.
change for me was, yeah, the big change for me was I became a contractor, and before that I was always an employee, and yeah, I was abroad again an employee, so always an employee. Um, yeah, so it was a big change for me to finally kind of I'm trying to be more independent and take it more as a consultant job rather than being employed. So, from time to time, I'm also helping people with other projects for some startups, doing prototypes. Yeah. So just taking it more like, not being bound to one specific entity, but be more a consultant.
Yeah. That's that sounds like kind of mindset shift, right? From being just employee to be more like entrepreneur, probably.
Yeah,
Or
but I will not get that far as an entrepreneur. I would say it's more like just like how do you do your taxes,
freelance. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But basically, it's a very similar thing. I think it being employed has its own advantages for software developers, and I don't think it's just a simple comparison of money, like how much net you get,
yeah,
because obviously I was even getting more as an employee previously. But I think it's about the thing that you are kind of owning something for a long time, right? If you are a consultant, you come somewhere, you get like 1 year or even a few months, and they give you some tasks. You need to improve this, you need to implement this, and need to re-architecture this or improve performance. So you are kind of task based. But when you're an employee, you are kind of part of the family, or it's a fancy word, but you're part of some team that is working on something that is far above your contract. Right? It's something that should last years and should last any number. Like all the team basically get exchanged for other people, and it should still work, right? So it's kind of something that's transcendent, and you are kind of understanding how the business works, how the software works, who is who, what are the people who are working on this project, and not just developers, right? Like everyone in the company. And it takes time. Sometimes I notice it takes me like 2 years in a single company to finally again get it
yeah,
and be very efficient. Like you can get like development efficient in 2 months. You can like push and do production changes as usual as a usual developer after 2 months or so. But to truly be influential and impactful in the organization, do some bigger changes, be influence the products, the people, CEO and stuff like that. I think you need like months to years. So I don't think it's bad to stay at one place for a long time, because you can learn the things and you can finally get to what needs to be done.
yeah, yeah. Do you prefer to work from office or from home office or something in between?
Mm. Yeah, I'm quite flexible. I don't really mind. I like the fact that, yeah, so, okay, just to say, so I was working in the office basically until COVID. And when COVID started, I was working for Amazon, and they allowed us to stay home. So, yeah, I stole the monitor, I brought it to my home, and everyone was stealing the monitor. So you could see like a lot of people running with monitors in their hands to their cars. And because they just said, we don't care, just take everything and stay home. So yeah, and I have it until now. So yeah, my stolen monitor. So please don't tell anyone. Yeah. And so, yeah, where was I? Yeah, office. Yeah. So office was good because I could steal monitors. No, but I mean, I enjoyed, meeting people. And since then I worked remotely. So I worked remotely from Luxembourg, and then I worked remotely from Prague. And now I work remotely as well, like since then, from practical reasons, but I don't really mind going to the office. I think practical reasons is because I could not go every day. I don't know how people manage doing that. I don't know how I managed to do that with kids even. I mean,
Yeah,
if you need to go somewhere, be there for 8 hours straight and then go back, that's basically like 9 hours per day where you are not at home, and you cannot do much during that time. You cannot like, transport people from one place to another usually. So I don't know how people manage that, but I simply prefer this to be like hybrid. So I like place to go. I like the office as a kind of a meeting point and cooperation point. So I really, um, like once, twice per week. Usually I go there and meet my colleagues. We go for coffee, we go for lunch, just walking, talking about random stuff. And I think that's also important to kind of have this opportunity, because previous company where I worked on, Binance, they didn't have offices in Czech Republic at all. Like
yeah,
we met a few times in a restaurant, but it was not developers; it was people doing random jobs, and it's a bit different because you can talk only about generic stuff. Um, so I think it's great if companies have some kind of a space where you can go to meet people. It doesn't need to be an office, maybe just like a co-working space or just a time and space. anytime, any space. But having this kind of checkpoints is important for me. And otherwise, I kind of don't have any strong preference. I currently like it for home because I don't need to go so far and catch the bus and go on the bus and kind of yeah. I like buses, but I prefer trams, and there are no trams here, so too bad.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's what is great on software engineering is usually when the company is normal, you have a lot of flexibility when and how you make your work, and it really helps me to manage life with kids and everything. So maybe that could be our next topic, like how do you manage to, because this job can be demanding and you need like deep focus sometimes, and it can be even stressful sometimes. How do you manage to do that with kids?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I was expecting it. Yeah. Okay. First thing I need to say is I don't manage always, right? It's not like I have a recipe or I manage. No, I don't. Sometimes I fuck up, and I don't. I miss a meeting, for example, because I am shopping it in a shopping center, and suddenly, oh no, there's like a tech leads meeting or whatever. I forgot about it, or I didn't get the notification, or it was scheduled like in the morning, and I didn't check the calendar things. So yeah, sometimes I'm pretty bad at this. So yeah, but it's just like I'm not very good at organizing things in calendar. I mean, calendar is my only hope. Like whatever I have in calendar, I more or less I know about it, and I can organize my life around it. But whatever is not in the calendar, man, I'm so chaotic and messy in this. So I think it's like I need to accept the randomness of life. Like something happens that you don't expect. Like my son stepped on a glass shard, and we had to
Oh,
go to the hospital. With the ambulance, and I don't know. Sometimes like someone is sick and they need to go to see the doctor. Like, I don't know. So yeah, it's like kind of randomness. So you need to be ready for it. And I think it's good to set expectations with your team and with your boss. Like I always, when I was doing interviews, I was always mentioning this, and they even asked about it. And I think it's maybe not. I don't know. If they ask women, it's kind of a bad thing, right? Because they
yeah,
usually ask if they plan to have kids or if they have a family, and they
yeah,
kind of expect that
yeah,
if you have kids or expect kids that they will disappear for life or something. And obviously, like there is some time when you really cannot do your job. But that's why we have all these kind of rules and policies and benefits, right? But except of that, uh, you don't ask a man, right? And I think that's one thing I kind of try to change with my LinkedIn profile and with my stupid posts that like men have this too. Like we have kids, and
yeah,
we will be limited by the kids. It's not like women will do all the job, and they will be the ones that will not get jobs because they have kids. I mean, it should be like both should be impacted equally, right? Like if my wife cannot get job because I don't know she has small kids, then I shouldn't get the job because I have small kids. It's the same thing
yeah.
because we just split, right? So I'm trying to kind of talk about this more and show that it's also us that are that's taking the hit, and so far I didn't have any issues with it. I mean, usually people are reasonable, or maybe I was lucky and was talking to reasonable companies and reasonable managers, or they have kids themselves, so I didn't have like big issues with
Yeah.
explaining or
I I
so
think it's a huge added value when you have team and boss and company that's very understanding about this. I actually, when I think it was like second year of COVID, when I went to visit, my parents with my little one, and he was like, I don't know, two, maybe two half, I don't know, years old, to visit my parents, and my wife stayed home over weekend to do some cleaning and rest a bit, and basically she was feeling sick on Sunday evening. So I said, okay, I took my work laptop. I can somehow work from here during Monday. That's okay, and then we will see and come home. And in the end of Monday, she went for a test and she was COVID positive. So I had to stay there with my little kid for like a week or more than a week. And so my team, the first thing, no one cared, about deadlines. No one cared about this, about the release that we were supposed to do. Everyone was like, okay, do you need to take time off? I was like, okay, no, I don't need that, but I will just work some really unusual hours. So, I was during the day when my mom couldn't take care of him. I was like taking care of him, and then I was working like 6 to midnight and stuff like that. And it was very reassuring that no one had problem with that, and no one questioned my performance or anything. So yeah, it's a huge benefit when the company is like pro parent on parent positive, but I think it's more common in software engineering or in like surrounding industries than it's in like normal everyday, life, unfortunately. So yeah.
Yeah, good point. I think what you mentioned is right, and let's emphasize that because we're kind of lucky, right? That's another reason why people go to IT, because it's a job that where basically just take your laptop and you have your work equipment, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we can do it at any location, basically at any time. And when I say any, it's it's not like set in stone or something. And yeah, so you can take these things, but you can like do pretty much your job anywhere at any time, and if you don't do it during the day, you can do it in the evenings, and that's also why the remote work is kind of working for me better, because I can also schedule the work in different way. It's not like the usual 8 hours, 9 to 5, but something like 9 to 11, 1 to 3, 5 to 7,
Yeah.
I don't know, 10 to 11. Yeah, something like
Exactly.
this. Basically. So you can do your work, you can do stuff. We have, we have open tasks. So one day when like you have a lot of breaks, you do smallish tasks from the backlog. If you know that you are going to be like alone for the whole day, like it's are in school, whatever, and you take something more intensive. So yeah, just flexibility for me is working well. If I can if I can pick a place, time, and some kind of a task to work on. Of course, it's not working always, but let's say it's like 80% of the time. I think it's still pretty good. 80% is still pretty good. Of course, there are sometimes like, deadlines or some like
Yeah.
correction issues that you need to fix like right away. And for that, I don't really mind. Like, in my previous job, I was staying late at like New Year's Eve, and basically
Oh,
on like the last hours during 2023, they realized they need to do some regulatory requirement until the end of the year, which was
oh.
basically like 5 hours. So so yeah, so that was a funny night. Like, good was that the government was not checking on the first, like in the morning, right? Because everybody was celebrating and sleeping. So we had some extra time, after that. But basically, we finished the requirements. But I worked for like, from 8 p.m. On the last day of the year until like 5 a.m. the next day with other 60 people on the line. So it's not like that I'm a parent. I'm like a lazy asshole that doesn't do anything, right? Or like that I'm like quitting at 5, closing my laptop, or constantly out with my kids. But uh, you give flexibility to me, I will give flexibility to you. It's like a trade, right? So yeah, you let me like go to my doctors during the day, fine. And if you write me in 10 p.m., I can respond to you if I'm online, right? So it goes both ways, right? So
Yeah.
let's keep it that. I'm fine with that.
Yeah. That's a good balance, I think. I have it very similar. Very similar. Yeah. Let's get back to your recent job hunt. How many companies did you reach out to, or how many interviews did you like roughly went to?
Oh, yeah, I had nice stats, or I was doing some stats for that. But I forgot. It's
Yeah,
like
that's
it was very stressful. stressful time for me.
I
But
can
I would
imagine.
say, yeah, I was quite picky. So I also tried to limit the number of things in progress. So when I was doing some interviews for some companies, I tried to not reach out to new ones. So I would say I had like a prioritized basically backlog of companies I would like to check with. And I started from the top and checking. And also there were some like new ones, not unexpected ones that just came to me offering something. So I tried to respond to those too. And even when I had like quite, I had some requirements for the remote work and for, I guess, for salary or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was doing some filtering, uh, but I would say it was about maybe I think like 10 companies was the active ones that I was chatting with for a longer time. And like in the last round, I had like four.
Yeah.
Yeah. So four they decreased to two when I was deciding between, and then I achieved or decided for the one that I had. And the more closer to the end you get, the more like difficult it gets, right? Like first it's
Yeah.
easy to differentiate between 20 or 30, and then when you go to three, it's like I was having Excel tables, I was doing calculations, like yeah,
Signing points.
calculating everything. Yeah, I was like pros and cons and
Yeah.
asking ChatGPT. I don't know, random things. I just didn't want to decide on my own.
Yeah.
But it was interesting because I had basically no one to ask. That's interesting because when you are picking job, it's not like you can go to your friends and ask, what would you say? What would you pick?
Yeah.
Because they have no idea about your preferences.
Yeah. It's
But
it's
yeah,
hard and it's on your own, right?
exactly. You are on your own, and you will be impacting this or feeling the impacts for many, many months. So yeah, it's a difficult process, and I enjoyed the interviews. I must say, it was quite fun, and mainly the thing that I was like free, that I didn't have to go to work was like, oh, it was I think first time in my life when I didn't have like job ending and another one starting right the
Yeah.
next
S-
day. So I
So
had
so you
like
had like a
one
gap
month.
between
Yeah,
jobs?
I had the gap. I had the gap.
That's cool.
I just, I tried it. I tried to give it a time. I had some, some savings, so I didn't care. But yeah, it was interesting that I was just with my family in a temporary accommodation. My house was going on to the reconstruction works,
Ah,
and I had no jobs, so it was quite a stressful period for me. But yeah, it was. I remember it,
that's
and it was a fun times. But I had a lot of time with my kids, and we were going. We were living in a city center, in Prague city center, so we were like a tourist. We were
yeah.
living basically in Airbnb because there was no accommodation that could keep us for 2 months while we were doing the houseworks.
Yeah.
So we had to basically go for Airbnb, which was expensive as hell. But basically, I was on vacation doing interviews and spending days with my kids, in a tiny apartment. Yeah, but it was
Mm,
a nice time because we discovered a lot of playgrounds in the city center. There are some pretty nice ones.
cool.
So if you want to try Prague city center for kids, I can give you a guide.
Yeah, one day. It's not that near almost,
Yeah, no.
but not that far either. I was there quickly for like one day with my little one, and he's very into sea life, so we went to like
Yeah, see,
to sea zoo and
aquarium.
yeah, aquarium and, and,
Yeah,
and
no,
some
that
stuff,
one.
and then we were like going by train home. But one thing that I wanted to ask, because I can read a lot of opinions about interview process and a lot of complaints around LinkedIn from software engineers. Did you encounter any like red flags or some annoying stuff during your process with the companies?
I think I don't have big objections to the interview process as per what you do in the interviews and what you talk about. My biggest objections were maybe for the previous step in disclosing information
Yeah.
about the companies. So, when I'm already in an interview, it means that I already pre-selected the company to some extent. I think like one of my conditions is that I should know the salary, at least roughly. Otherwise, it's a waste of time because then you can get into a situation when you pass the interview and you find out that you would not be able to pay your bills. So yeah, I mean, when I'm already at interview, it means that I'm interested in the position. So then I don't know, maybe my brain switches and I'm like, yeah, okay, I will just do this because it's necessary. And it's also true that what I noticed, I will never I never thought of myself as like, I'm an experienced software developer, blah, blah, blah. So I don't need to do interviews or whatever. Actually, it's pretty tough. And there were interviews that I did not pass. And, it just happens. So don't worry about it. It's, sometimes you get the task that you are not dealing good with, or you have a bad day. It's not like, I don't know. It's just a filter that sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, and, yeah, I'm not like too stressed. Of course, I was not super happy that I didn't pass it, but I was like, okay, I passed another one. So I passed another one that was maybe more difficult, or I didn't pass something that I thought I did a good job, and I just didn't agree with the assessment, and it's fine. There's a lot of companies out there, and you shouldn't be focused too much on a single, and just try something else. Sometimes it's just about the person interviewing you is not in the mood, or you talk to like 5 people, and the fifth one is like does not like you for some reason. So he tries to find, of course, other reasons why not hire you. Of course, yeah. Not saying that happened to me. Not that everyone likes me, of course not. But I think it was a fair, yeah, almost fair, almost 100% fair. Yeah, I was not doing a good job on some of them because I kind of had different expectations about the role, or it's one of the things that maybe it's actually more difficult when you're experienced to do an interview. It's not like you already know all the algorithms. Oh, yeah, I mean, things the opposite. Actually, I forget the algorithms and I forget things. So I'm kind of more stupid now than I was when I was interviewing a few years ago. But I think it's like the experience that you have with real world projects, and you know that you can code and you can do your stuff.
Yeah.
It's not like when I tell interview, I feel like I'm failure. It's like I remember all the things that I did and that worked, and I'm like, okay, so I did not pass it. It's fine. It's just a test, right? So yeah, so don't be too worried about the interview processes. Always have some backup, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and you will not get better with time. So don't rely on it. You actually get worse with time. But it's true that the people that are doing interviews for like more senior positions are also more senior, so they kind of have the understanding, and they can give you a lot of guidance and a lot of help if you need it. Um, and yeah, but I think it's good to have some kind of expectations aligned with the interviewer about the role and what is expected from you, because sometimes you get a coding question and it's not really about the coding. It's like, asking the right questions. It's thinking about the problem and then getting it done in the timeline, basically during the interview. And it doesn't need to be ideal solution or something, but you should get something done, right? And based on, yeah, I think basically interview is like a proxy for, do you want to work with this person on a daily basis? So the more closer you get to that, I think the better interview is. So if you get like a ABC test, whatever, it's like totally, it's a total crap. But if you get something like, so we have this problem and we are going to work together on this, I think those are the best interviews. Or when the problem is even very generic, that it's not even written in the code. It's like just a question, like, I don't know, just out of my head, like, okay, you have this list of countries and the population, and you need to make a random choice, but you want to select like the one that has more population more frequently than the other one that doesn't, which is like a very simple problem to ask. But then you can get like 10,000 different solutions with different properties, and talking through them, considering them. That's a fun interview, which can also lead to some coding. Yeah, but it's not, it's just like how well we communicate, how we can think about problems. Yeah, so I enjoy these interviews. Yeah.
Yeah, you can learn a lot of like real world skills from such interview.
Yeah. So yeah, back to your questions. I think I didn't answer it. So yeah, so just to summarize, I was not, I did not have any red flags except that the companies are not sharing that they offer, like the star expectations. I had some companies that were changing their minds in like opening or closing the position quite
Yeah.
frequently, or opening some other ones, and sometimes what to say. I
Yeah, I
think
think
otherwise, yeah, it was few good things, like few new fresh ideas, like these what is it called? Like when you go on site to see the team, and
yeah.
you actually can spend the day with them, like a boot camp
Oh,
or something. That I think is quite nice.
that's
And
cool.
yeah, what I try to do personally, and also I was told that it's not like everyone is interested in doing that, but you can also tell about the candidate about how they kind of approach this. Is if you actually are interested in the role a lot and you are deciding, then you can visit the company on site. What I noticed is like since last time when I was doing interviews, like all of them, almost all of them were remote, like virtual interviews. So
Yeah.
I was not seeing the person in person, but I was chatting through a call, not just for foreign companies, but also for Czech companies. And I think this is like something that is probably happening more and more because it saves everyone time and money, right? And you
Yeah.
can also do interviews like if they have a manager in the US or a tech lead in the US, or it's a startup in US, they can just call you and they don't need to fly there or whatever. So it's like opening more positions for the interviewers and also for the interviewees. It's faster, easier to organize. You don't need to leave your job. Even you can do it in like I don't know, lunch break or whatever. Or if you're working home, you just do it as a meeting kind of. And yeah, so I think it is better. And I noticed this was not the case before. And yeah, what I was saying before is you actually go and see the company from the inside, like in person. If they have offices, just go there, go visit the team, go take a coffee with them. And I did that, I think, 2 times for one of the company and 1 time for the other. Uh, and it was a great experience. It told me a lot about the company, like how many people I see there. Is everyone working remotely, or are they actually sitting
Yeah.
there? Yeah, what is the vibe of the office? Is it more like you know, easygoing place? Are there some dogs, or uh, is it like people chatting all the time, or everyone just looking stressed on their computer, or they are just like hanging around chatting? Are they laughing in the office? Are they like free? It's also interesting when you go there as a candidate, how they approach you. Sometimes they don't even get up, to say hello. Sometimes they just, okay, another candidate. Sometimes they go on lunch with you. Sometimes they
Hmm.
just, at the company I'm working on, they were super nice, and they just, the recruiter just went to the office. He's like, "Hey, wait, I see you, come on." So yeah, just everyone got up from their work and they went to the kitchen, and we stand up around the table. And we chatted about like, yeah, what do you do? What do you do? And yeah, come to us. We are a great company, and you should
That's
definitely
cool.
join us. We're the best. And this is, here coffee, here water, and this is our awesome merch. Yeah, so that kind of if you don't accept the company after that, like, what do you want? So yeah, I think these little things add up, and it make your decision easier. So go take your data points, and yeah, just visit the team, and that's great.
Yeah. And in the end, ask ChatGPT where you should go so that you can blame
Yeah, I tried
artificial
it just for
intelligence.
fun because I was curious what it tells me. But ChatGPT is like, I don't know if it's developed that way, but it never tells you like a clear answer. It will say, I know it depends. It depends on your
Yeah.
personality. Then it answers
And
something and ends with, yeah, but remember, it's always about you and your, don't take my advice, don't listen to me. And I know it's up to, it's
that,
very depends, blah, blah, blah. So
yeah,
it'll
I think it depends is one of the most used answers in software engineering in general. Or at least I use it a lot in the discussions when someone asks me, "Hey,
yeah.
will that work?" It's like, well, it depends. But yeah,
Yeah, I think that's how you can tell a senior because senior always say it depends. Uh,
that's cool. Let's turn the page. One thing that I would like to ask you is, because you have quite some experience. You said maybe 15 years. So would you say that software engineering is getting better or worse after all this time?
I think better.
Why?
Dog. Yeah, I need to say why. Oh my god. Um, yeah, I mean it's not an easy answer, but I would say that we have definitely much more tools than
Yeah,
we used to have. Doesn't mean it's all the tools are great, but you have a palette of tools to pick. Like if you just take editors, previously we had like, I don't know, when I started in Java, there was like NetBeans, Eclipse, and IntelliJ, like these three main IDEs. Then new ones appeared. They improved over time, and they became pretty smart. And I don't know if I would give you like IDE from, I don't know, 2010, you would hate it. I mean,
yeah,
you don't realize it, but just remember
probably.
how it was. You were so lucky, so happy that you have like autocomplete, that you don't need to remember all the methods. And now it's like you get on autocomplete with an AI that will finish the line for you, which is like in 70%, it's almost exactly the one that you want to write. And even without an AI, it's like you get autocomplete where the things are sorted by, you know, like when you
Yeah,
are setting the objects and you write like set name, then it picks you from other objects get name because it has a name. It's pretty smart. So I think these little things make a lot of difference for us developers because we basically write all the time. So anything that makes the writing faster is like multiplied by an inside number of code lines written. Also, like the speed of the IDEs, it's not great. It's getting better, but I think that also projects are getting bigger.
yeah,
So yeah, now I think Git is basically very popular. It didn't used to be as popular when I started. There were like still people using CS, CVS, and SVM and Mercurial. I don't know what else. But now it's pretty much everyone moved to Git, which I think is like a progress forwards. Um, and it allows you to do many things more easier and more, let's say, it's more robust. Like you can do branching,
yeah,
right? Like development in branches. You can do release management better. So yeah, and I would say like the rise of CI is also something that I would say contributed a lot. Like previously you had like build server that was building stuff and that was it. So it was just maybe running unit tests, build some package and deployed it and it was it. Now you have CI, which is like so powerful and integrated into the tools that you can, I don't know, just create like a pull request from your branch. Then it gets all checked, reformatted, some things get generated, some things get like, different version of tests is getting deployed, like preview environment is getting deployed. So you can try your branch in a separate environment. I think it also relates to the rise of Docker and the clusters. So you can basically spin up virtual servers. It used
yeah,
to be pain, like local development in general and development environments. Those took ages to set up, and I would swear that there were companies that did not have any test environment at all, or nobody was using it. That they were like running some tests locally, and they just I assume it's going to work, so they pushed it, and then they tested it in production. If it worked, okay. If it didn't, then they rolled back, and or customer noticed it doesn't work. So I think even like this possibility that you can spin up a Docker container nowadays with everything, with the database, with the cache, so I would say this is another point. Maybe cloud is another big topic. So you can use stuff like queues or storage, which is basically unlimited. Previously, you had to run everything on your infrastructure. Now you
yeah,
can experiment a lot, and there's a lot of things that is like already made for you. So if you have like a startup or something, you can just get some startup credits on the big cloud providers, and you can play around. You can basically build your product prototype for free. You can spin it up. You can put people in, bring your first customers, and if it catches on, then you can keep developing. If not,
yeah,
then you scratch, and you don't have anything. You don't have any servers that are like lying around on the floor that you need to sell or or something. So yeah, I think like these probably are the main. And if it goes to people, I think there are definitely more people in the industry, and there is more specialization.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was difficult previously to be like a full stack engineer. Mostly because the two worlds were completely separated. But I think now it's like it's not just two worlds. Now it's basically 1,000 different worlds, and some of them
Yeah.
that used to be separate are actually connected. So I think now it's possible to be a full stack developer because you have the tools, you have the CI, you have the languages evolved, the frameworks evolved, the development process evolved. So yeah, so basically now it's easier to develop anything, but also you cannot understand everything at all. Like you need to pick something.
Yeah.
So what I like
And
is
go
this kind of
deeper.
a T shape. So basically you are like vertical but very thin, so you can understand a bit about everything. So I know a bit about how, I don't know, like hardware works, how drivers work, operation system works, then some libraries. On top of that, Java runtime, for example, garbage collection, all these things kind of have some understanding. And then on the top, there is the T shape. That's like your primary specialization. So that's maybe Java, for example, for some people, or TypeScript or JavaScript, and they understand more about that. Yeah, but it's a fractal, so it's like T inside another T. So even if you're in your job, you are not probably understanding everything, right? Yeah, I learned
Yeah.
it's impossible. And of course, when you get more senior, it's not like you're just getting dumber, because obviously we are all getting dumber, but it's also like realizing that I don't need to understand everything in the detail, and I will have my area in the company where I will become a specialist,
Yeah.
and people will come to me for advice, and then I will have like understanding of the rest, some basics, so at least I know how it roughly works, and if what you are saying is complete bullshit, or if it makes some
Yeah.
sense. And if it makes some sense, I will send you to the guy that now understands more about that. So that's good. And yeah, so I think it's not just a T shape, but there are other shapes. I think everyone is different, and that's what I learned at Amazon, that there are like different types of engineers, and not like all. If you are like 10 maybe 15 years of experience in software engineering and further, then those people tend to be very different. It's not like they are evolved into one single super senior engineer, like a prototype engineer, but they're actually all super different. They completely different things. They're like
Yeah.
MacGyvers, I call them MacGyvers. Those can do anything, you can just tell them, okay, you change that login form to have like whatever new field, or yeah. And the other day you say, yeah, there's a performance issue, can fix that. They can do just anything, any task you give them, they will do it. But they are specialists that are like super nerds in some stupid small things. So for example, at Amazon, we had a person who was expert on S3. So he knew like S3 inside out, and he knew exactly how the index works and everything. So when anyone had a performance issue with S3, like some serious one, then they came to him, or similar for different technologies. Like there was like some person that was super nerdy in that sense, but they could not do anything. You could not say do front end or develop me something, some tool to do stuff. They could not do it. They just say, no, I cannot do it. Sorry. So yeah, there are different types of people, and they're focused on different things. There was like people, seniors that are focused on the business, so they understand well the business, how the business works in a certain area, which is not also easy thing, because you can get such a complex flows and processes that they are not written in the code, or maybe they are, but they
Yeah.
are on so many places that nobody knows them in the completeness. So this guy knows like how the things work. Like for example, ordering flow. Like when I click add something to the basket on Amazon, and I click checkout and I pay for the thing, then I would expect something simple, but actually there is like 200, I don't know, services and systems, which means like 10,000 people, developers that are managing all this flow. Like from ordering system,
Wow.
reservation systems, storage systems, fulfillment systems, sourcing systems, pre-ordering systems, delivery system, promise systems. I don't know. There's like such a playad of things that just person understanding what the hell is going to do, because when something is broken or you need to launch a new store, then you need to know what all systems you need to modify in order to make this succeed, because you cannot just go trial and error. So you need to find teams that are responsible for this specific flow, and and give them tasks what they need to do. So then you find out that 80% of these teams are like working fine when you add a new marketplace. But then you have 20% that like they just crash because they have some hard coded list of marketplaces, some switch somewhere in the deep inside the code. And if there is a key missing, it goes to default and it obviously fails. And then the customer just doesn't get the stuff shipped. So that's a pretty big fuck up, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that those people are important as well. So yeah, you find your area and you'll be good at it, and you grow, and it doesn't matter what the area would be.
Since we are talking about fuck up, one question that
Sure.
I ask every guest I have on this podcast is share one story about like situation when you messed up really and what you learned from that.
Yeah, yeah, I never mess up. Everything I do is working fine. Next question.
Liar.
Yeah, okay, you're not happy. No, I mean I did so many fuck ups. Uh, but it's hard to remember some specific ones because I think what is important about each fuck up is that, yeah, you can do a fuck up, but the way how you deal with it is the most important thing. And actually, I read some article or
Uh-huh.
it was market research that actually customers are preferring companies or buying at companies that are doing mistakes and fixing them instead of companies that don't do mistakes at all. And I think that goes also to people. So we actually we prefer people that we know that do mistakes and they can fix them than people that don't do mistakes at all, or we think that they don't do mistakes at all. They just seem unreal to us, you know. So yeah, what I did for a fuck up, I mean, I didn't drop a production database. No, that never happened to me because I never wanted to have 20 production access. Whenever I wanted to, or whenever I could avoid it, I did not want it. Um, what I would pick. I mean, it's hard. I don't remember much, but I can just say something
Yeah,
from the recent.
it's
Yeah, it's like
yeah, let's go
not
with
enough
that.
testing. Yeah, when you release a feature, you don't do enough testing. I think it also goes with that you are so deep in your own code that you are almost sure it works, but then you just take 1 minute of another person that trying the same feature. So yeah, I think that happened to me quite a few times. When I was working on some feature, I was testing it, it looked fine. Then I deployed it to production, and then some of my colleagues came to this feature, and after 1 minute, it's broken, doesn't work at all. I mean, like, how do you mean it doesn't work at all? I tested it like for 3 days, and then I learned that they clicked some buttons in a different order, or they
Yeah.
did it run it on different data or something. So yeah, I'd say there's like a family of fuck ups that I had when I deployed something that was broken afterwards because I didn't test it with a fresh mind, or yeah, like I was not thinking as a person using it actually. Yeah, so that was one kind of fuck ups. Yeah, but
That's
I don't know,
all right. So
but I had more,
just to
but I don't
wrap up,
remember. Mhm.
let's leave it like there. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
yeah.
And very last question: if our listeners should remember just one thing from this, podcast, and take just one message home with them, what it should be?
Yeah, another tough one. I would say, yeah, we are all human, and don't try to hide that fact. And uh, you know, we are imperfect. We have our own quirks. We are weird. Sometimes we do fuck ups, and so yeah, try to take your colleague, your boss, your interviewee, your interviewer as a human being, and with all the ups and downs that come with it, and don't search for perfection. Um, Try to reach it, but don't worry if you don't. Usually, it's fine if you get close enough.
Thank you. That's really great, and that's what I'm looking for. So thank you for coming to Software Engineering Tales, and hopefully see you around. Bye.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. Bye bye.